Hey, ladies and gents, welcome back. This is going to be a new What If. This is going to be part 1 to What If Naruto was an ancient being. So, what exactly do I mean by that? Well, like I do in a lot of What Ifs, I am going to be introducing a new race or like a few different characters into the world. There's not going to be many of them. It's not going to be like a situation like the Otsutsuki where it's like, oh wow, there's like this entire race of people who are like incredibly strong. No, there are going to be a few of them alive. I have to say that because they're like pretty much immortal, like in terms of like aging and stuff, but they can still die through like physical harm and stuff like that. So that's how I'm going to like say this ancient race work. So, that being said, there's no like goal or anything like that on this video. Let's just jump right into the What If itself. So, where are we going to start off? Well, we are going to be starting off at the Nine Tails attack. Now, obviously, this is normally where Naruto is born. However, something is quite different. Naruto has already been, alive for quite a while at this point. By the time the Nine Tails attack happens, I'm gonna say Naruto is around the age of probably 15, 16. And this is where these ancient beings, who've pretty much been, ruling the world for, hundreds, thousands of years, because, pretty much just in the shadows. They don't really, do anything. But they deem this worthy of their intervention and send one of their kids there. At this point, there are 4 members of the race left. 3, obviously, being the originals, not originals, but the ones who were alive for thousands of years, and Naruto, who is 50, like I was saying earlier. So, they decide to send Naruto over in order to, try to help out the ninja world, because that is kind of what they do. They just kind of rule from the shadows, kind of like Black Zetsu, except better, because they actually kind of help a little, I guess you could say. But anyway, that they do end up sending Naruto over there. And Naruto looks somewhat like this is in the thumbnail, but that's gonna be a later on thing. He doesn't have a sword yet. He's probably looks pretty normal at this point. He might have white hair and he doesn't have all of that kind of stuff that he would have in the thumbnail, because Naruto hasn't really done anything yet. Part of what these ancient race people would actually think is that training is kind of useless. Kind of like Frieza or the Saiyans before they went to Earth and met Goku. They never really trained or anything like that. They've been alive for hundreds of thousands of years, just retaining their youth, and they just slowly, naturally progress. They don't really see the point in training, so Naruto's not going to be OP at the start because he never really did any training. He's just he's physically stronger than a normal 15-year-old would be because of what he is, but he hasn't really done any training, so he's not going to be stupid OP. So Naruto gets sent into the Leaf Village during the Nine Tails attack. Now, the actual Naruto, I guess you could say, would still be born here. However, something, I guess you could say, unfortunate would happen. And as Naruto is getting basically, transported in, he just kind of, takes the place of the original Naruto through, this transportation spell. It basically just, switches 2 people. So, as Naruto is, about to get the Nine Tails sealed inside of him, he is replaced by this 15-year-old other kid, I guess you could say. I'm just going to be calling him Naruto for simplicity's sake, and so I don't confuse myself and you. So I'm just going to be calling him Naruto from here on. And because of the fact that he has the Nine Tails sealed inside of him now, that means Minato and Kushina would still end up both dying because he would still perform the Reaper Death Seal. And they would probably still think Naruto is the son of Kushina and Minato. They don't really understand anything about Jinchurikis or how it works, when it comes to infants and stuff like that. So they just assume that because the actual Naruto was an infant when the Nine Tails was sealed inside of him, for some reason he went through rapid growth and now he's he's in his teens. So that's just kind of what they assume, because they don't really know what to assume, because Naruto isn't really telling them anything because, he doesn't really know that much. 15, and he hasn't really like left his. I don't even know like what kind of house they live in. Like I wonder like where they rule from. Like an island, like a castle. Like I just wonder. And by wonder I mean you guys wonder, because I already know. But that's gonna be like part 3. Yeah, that's part 3. All right. So, with that being said, Naruto would just be like assumed to be like some weird thing, and everybody still assumes that he technically is still really young, but his physical body and like mental like capability just got increased because of his body's need to like adapt to the like tailed beast because of its massive amount of chakra and stuff like that. That's just what everybody assumes, because they have no way of like knowing what actually happened, because Minato and Kushina are both dead, so they don't know that this kid just kind of like teleported in and replaced Naruto before the Jinchuriki, or not before the tailed beast was even like sealed inside of him. They would have no idea of any of that because they're both dead, and nobody was really watching like, everything that was happening, and it was very last second, so even if somebody was watching, they would still probably think that it just happened really quick and Naruto's body aged up. So Naruto would then get his place in the village, and he wouldn't train at first. So Naruto would start going on like missions and stuff like that, and he would be probably a chunin by the time he was 16 years old, after like going to the academy and doing all of that kind of stuff. And Naruto would eventually learn that training is probably going to be necessary. And the way he realizes this is by going on missions. He goes on missions with people like Kakashi, because remember, this is like shortly after the Nine Tails attack, so this means that like Obito and Kakashi are both like 14, 15 years old as well, so Naruto is actually a similar age, if not a little bit older than like Kakashi and Obito are. Which is interesting, considering, the actual original story, but hey, that's what we're going with in this What If. So, Naruto would be going on these missions and would quickly learn that his power is just not going to be enough as it is. If he had more time, like he was alive for a couple hundred years, he would have been fine. He easily would have been able to take down, people like Itachi in his prime and stuff like that. But Naruto's 15, so he can't really do anything yet, and his physical body hasn't actually like developed all too much. Or not, like, he's not like fully developed yet. So Naruto would quickly learn that he has to start training. And this is where Naruto's just absolutely insane potential ends up coming in. Naruto has all 5 chakra natures because, why would he's a mortal, like, come on, he's gonna be OP in this What If, like, come on, we gotta do that. And Naruto also picks up a sword and begins training with that after seeing Kakashi use one. So, with Naruto actually doing this, he would very quickly progress and become stronger, like, just so absolute, like, so quickly. About a month after Naruto started training, he's probably around Jonin level, and he's still a Chunin because he doesn't have, like, the mental capacity to be like a Jonin yet, but this is where he ends up going on a mission with Kakashi. This mission was appointed by Danzo, and because of that, you might already know what kind of mission it's going to be. It's an investigation of the Uchiha clan and their relations to the Nine-Tailed Fox attack. They decide to put Naruto on this mission along with Kakashi because Naruto is just like high Jonin level at this point, and they don't really have that many people to be like sending on these kind of missions. And, it works because Naruto is just like that strong, and he's a lot smarter than the average 16, 17-year-old. So he goes on the mission with Kakashi. As they're investigating pretty much like the Uchiha compound, they do indeed find something quite interesting. So at this point, the Uchiha coup has already been started, and they are in the middle of a meeting when Kakashi and Naruto begin to pretty much investigate this. At this point, Itachi is around 9-10 years old. He's not, like, old yet, but he's already graduated from the academy, done all that. Shisui is, like, doing his thing. Everybody is, like, just kind of, like, chilling at this point. It's after, like, the Third Shinobi World War, so everybody's just trying to, like, get a little bit of a handle of their situation, especially people like Kakashi and everybody like that, who were, like, directly involved with it. So, with this actually happening, Naruto's reaction to this would be quite interesting. Now, because Naruto is this, like, ancient being who's been, like, taught philosophy, obviously, like, by his, like, parents, and, like, what he should do in certain situations, like, in case, like, certain, like, catastrophes happen, like, what he has to do in those situations. Now, with this, like, being a thing, Naruto has to make a decision here. Does he have to settle this with a peaceful way, or with a more physical or, killing approach? Naruto is debating this to himself, and Kakashi looks over at Naruto, and he sees Naruto is pondering something, but he doesn't really know what. But he decides that it's time to retreat, and he has to report to Danzo, because they have more than enough information to report. So, they end up going back to the Route Anbu, whatever the area is called, and they report back to Danzo exactly what they had found. Danzo, hearing this, is like, I fucking knew it. Those damn Uchiha, and he immediately gathers a massive army of his Anbu and begins walking towards Hiruzen in order to see if Hiruzen will side with him, or if he's going to have to try to, like, take over the village in order to, deal with the fact that the Uchiha are trying to do this. So, he goes to Hiruzen, and Hiruzen is obviously, like, he's a much more sensible man than Danzo, and he wants to know if there is a more peaceful approach that they can take to do this. And this is where Naruto's mind is made. He decides to side with Hiruzen in this, like, specific circumstance, and see if he can, like, resolve this the peaceful way, because that's the better way to do it. It means that Naruto has to get less blood on his hands. It means that the village will have more ninja, and the Uchiha are a very powerful, like, people, so it would be kind of a hindrance to, the entire village if they just disappeared. So Naruto decides to side with Hiruzen. Now, Kakashi would obviously, like, do the same, because he likes Hiruzen a lot more than Danzo. Like, I don't think Kakashi ever once trusted Danzo, like, ever. So they would both end up siding with Hiruzen here, but there's one small issue. There are a lot of root members that have already been gathered here, whilst the actual, like, Anbu, or, like, the Hokage Anbu members, most of them aren't there. They're either on missions, and there's probably only going to be a few of them around. So, this means that Danzo is going to take this fight. He thinks he can win, and so he's going to try to do it. So, at this point, since I said Itachi was around 10 years old, and he was around, I think, 6 or 7 during the Nine Tails attack, that means Naruto is 19 years old at this point in time, and he's had around 3 years of training. And like I said before, with, like, 2 months of training, he went from around, like, mid-Jonin to, like, high, like, Jonin, almost low Kage level. So, if Naruto adds an extra, like, 3.5 years of training onto that, along with missions and doing this and getting experience and learning new jutsu, Naruto is fucking strong here at this point. Like, he's probably around the level of Minato. So, he's a little bit strong at this point. So, and remember, he's 19. So, like, he's a little young, too. So, yeah. Also, just something I wanted to point out. So, with this actually happening, Danzo thinks he can win this fight. Nobody really knows Naruto's true power, because he never really tries on missions anymore, because he doesn't really have to. He just kills everybody. So Danzo would begin attacking Hiruzen, while his root members would begin attacking Hiruzen and, Kakashi and Naruto, respectively, along with a few of the Hokage Anbu members that actually, were around and reported back to Hiruzen once, they noticed, the battle that was going on in the Hokage office. So, this battle actually happening, that means that this is going to be a spectacle. This is going to be a big fight. So it's not just going to be them fighting. People are going to be taking sides. People like Guy and Asuma and all of them are obviously going to be joining Kakashi, but they're not that stupidly strong yet. Kakashi was much, much stronger than any of his classmates, by the time, when he got his Sharingan. So, he kind of just, it wouldn't really matter who joins at this point, because there weren't that many really powerful people yet, because people like Itachi and Shisui, who are these massive mega prodigies, are they're 9 and 10 years old, so they're not really going to be helping that much because they're still kids. So this fight would break out into many different battles, but the main one that I'm going to be covering here is going to be Hiruzen and Naruto versus Danzo. Or, Naruto versus Danzo, because Hiruzen doesn't really have to help at all. So, at this point, Danzo doesn't have his, arm of an absolute shit ton of fucking Sharingan yet. He also, since the coup has never, actually happened yet, and, nothing has happened yet, he doesn't even have Shisui's eye. He doesn't have anything, and he still thinks he can win this fight. So, he goes after Hiruzen, however, Naruto blocks his punch, appearing out of nowhere in front of him and blocking it immediately, sending him flying up through the roof and, through the Hokage, area and all the way up into the sky, a half-power uppercut. Naruto hits him a single time. As he, plummets back down to the ground, some flames begin to form around him just because of how high he was, and he plummets into the ground with a hole in his chest from where Naruto punched him. He is dead. All of the Anbu members that were on Danzo's side would see this and realize just how strong Naruto was. A few of them would be, really, really loyal, and not a few of them. A few of them would probably not be that loyal and actually, just, stop fighting and, try to surrender. But most of the root members would probably just still try to kill Naruto anyway. So, Naruto and, Kakashi, everybody else, take, no casualties, and pretty much the entire root and Danzo is just gone. Off the bat, doesn't exist. So that means that Danzo's relationship with Orochimaru is cut off here, obviously. And that's pretty much about where I am going to leave this part off. You guys can come back for part 2, either, whenever I upload it, maybe tomorrow, we'll see. Should be tomorrow, because I think I'll have time tonight to record another video. We'll see if I get that. So, with that being said, I hope you enjoyed the video, which, I think you did if you watched this, this far in, and thanks for watching. Peace out.